welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing a fun little project that is also going to help with learning values. What I really like about this project is that it's not like this college seemingly intense instruction on values and lights and shadows. It's just a fun little project, super simple, anybody can do it. And I think it's a really great way to kind of help understand layering in watercolor, as well as just shadowing and values without overthinking it. And you know me, not overthinking it is the name of the game for me, and I love keeping things simple. So this is a negative space bookmark piece, and I taped up the edges just so I can have a nice clean border. I definitely suggest doing that with this project, regardless if you're doing it on paper, like a regular size paper or a postcard or whatever it is. I definitely recommend taping up the edges just to give it a nice clean edge, because this does get a little messy and not in the cute watercolor way. So I'm putting in my first layer. It's a very, very, very watered down Payne's gray. We're basically looking for like a light white tea consistency, or just, you know, lightly dirty water. Stained water is a really light wash of what we're going for. So that's the first layer. Then you're going to wait for the first layer to dry. I was doing this one during an actual class, and I didn't have my little heaters with me. It's like they're like the little heat guns, and so I was kind of just fanning it and hoping it speeds up in dryness, and it didn't. So I wasn't able to really erase, but it still worked out pretty well. So I tried to erase and it tore the paper a little bit, but that's okay. So I'm doing circles. The thing with circles is, one, you don't ever really have to buy a stencil, but you could just use a bottle or some. There's so many round things around you, so just grab that. Don't spend a bunch of money on stencils. It's not really necessary, unless you want to, of course. And the other thing is, they're not that easy to paint around. So I did this with this class. I did circles, and the next day I had another class where I was teaching the same thing. We did hearts. Everybody was much happier, because with circles you're trying to get that nice clean line around the circles, and it's a little bit of a struggle, and it just adds unnecessary stress for understanding this project. So do hearts or stars, but keep the shape simple, especially for the first time, because this can get pretty tedious, and you'll see why in a minute. So after I drew those circles in tracing with my bottle, I just went in with another layer of this Payne's gray. It's a little bit less diluted, but it's still pretty diluted. It's hard to see those first circles having any color in it, but it does. And once I'm done with this layer, I'm going to go ahead and also wait for this layer to dry. Now what's different about this is you're painting the essentially circles first and then drawing them. So now I'm painting basically the background for the next circles, even though it seems like I'm just painting around the first two. I know that sounds confusing. Bear with me, it'll make sense. So now that I'm drawing my next circles, this is exactly where the color that I just painted is going to be for those circles. So I'm drawing these two circles here, one up in the corner, and the background I painted is literally those colors. So now I'm going to paint a background around what I just traced, and now you can see how the first layer background is for the circles I drew after the fact. Hopefully that makes sense. It's a really kind of a mental weird trick, and trying to explain it is even weirder. But it kind of makes your brain think in reverse a little bit, which I think is really essential for watercolor, especially if you come from the world of acrylic or oils or almost any other medium where you paint from dark to light. But in watercolor, we paint from light to dark. So a lot of times you have to think in reverse. So if you're painting something with highlights in it, you know, like let's say an apple, and you're going to see that nice reflection on the apple, that's probably the first thing you're going to paint if it's not the white of the paper. If it's the white of the paper, you're not even touching that. So that's going to be the first thing you have to think about. But when it comes to acrylics or oils, that's the last thing you do, right? You add the little highlights at the end with the light color paint because you can layer it on top. But here you kind of have to think in reverse. So I really like this project because when I teach, this is part of my Watercolor 101. When I teach Watercolor 101, this is something we do in week 2. And we do this little project. First, I love that you get a bookmark to take home, really simple shapes. Doesn't take any painting or drawing skills. It's really just about understanding the layers. But what I teach after this is how to paint trees. And when you paint trees, you really are learning the difference in the values of the trees. So values is just, light to green, dark. It's the same pigment. You don't have to change the colors. You can just water it down for the lighter shades, just like we did here. So a great project to do. We only did like 2 or 3 layers here, not more than 3. In fact, yeah, we did two layers, excuse me, mostly because we were waiting for it to dry in between the class. This, we did, 3 or 4 layers in another class where I actually didn't forget my heat guns, and it looks really, really cool. So, but you can kind of see the effect. Then you just remove the tape very carefully, and I'm punching a hole in it right now, a little off screen, you can't see it. And then I'm just going to take a little ribbon, I fold it in half, and then I put the open ends through the loop, or through the hole, and then I just pull those ends through inside of the loop. I'll do that here in a second. Just stick those 2 open ends through that little loop there, and then pull the ends tight, and voila, you have a cute little bookmark. And of course, go ahead and trim it to the length you want, if you want it long. One of my students did it off to the corner. It was really cute. So there you go, cute little bookmark, and now you have a little grasp on values if you didn't already. It sounded a little condescending, I apologize. So now I'm going to take the same kind of project, and we are going to move into painting a sphere. So again, grab something round, a little bit bigger, just so your life is a little bit easier on you. I grabbed a solo cup. I had an event here, I think when I first opened my studio for a baby shower, and this lady brought a bunch of solo cups, like one of those Costco size packs, and I have unlimited uses of circles. One end is smaller, the other end is bigger. It's perfect, and they're cheap enough where I don't feel bad about throwing it in the recycle. So full circle, fill it with water. We're going to do wet on wet for this, and I'm going to stick with the Payne's Gray because I don't want to make it complicated. We're really just sticking with one color today to really get the values. 2 projects, 1 color. And I love this. So if you're brand new, this is fun because you don't have to invest in all these colors, especially if you weren't doing the liquid watercolors like I recommend. Then you only need 1 bottle. And if you're getting 1 bottle, I love Payne's Gray. All my students love the Payne's Gray. It is the color. We love it. The other color we love a lot too is the Gamboge, which is the yellow. But the Payne's Gray, you can do so much with it. So watered down. So the same little pile of Payne's Gray I had for my bookmark, I am putting into the circle. I'm just filling up the whole circle, with this diluted Payne's Gray. If it's not diluted, it almost looks black. So you can tell it's quite diluted here. And I'm just filling it up the best I can. I'm not worried too much about blending here because it's not really the point. You can focus a lot on blending if you want. The quicker you work with the wet paper, the less brush strokes you're going to get and the more smooth blending you're going to get. I'm going to repeat that because that's one of those things where I say it in a class and then nobody does it because they're listening to all my other steps I just gave them, so it kind of gets lost in the fray. But the quicker you work with this, 1, it keeps you from overthinking, goes back to my theme about not overthinking, but 2, it really just kind of helps you not have those brush strokes because the paper is still pretty wet. Then I'm taking a paper towel and I'm just dabbing a little circle pattern into the top left-hand corner. Kind of think of the Death Star. I just blanked out that little moon-shaped thing. I think it's a Death Star. So it kind of looks like that, right? And I'm also dabbing the same kind of shape towards the bottom of the paper towel. Bottom of the sphere. As you can see, it's a really rough-looking circle from the paper towel. So I'm just going to kind of clean up that edge a little bit because the paper is still quite wet. It is picking up a little bit easier. And now I'm just taking a clean, dry brush to lift up a little bit more of that paint to get more of that circle shape. And again, don't overthink it. We're just kind of going for a rough understanding to do the sphere. And then we're going to take the paper towel and we're going to dab the bottom half of the circle too. You'll see a little bit more in a minute. I'm not gonna dwell on that part too much. And now I'm just darkening. I'm not going to dwell on that part too much yet because we are going to go into it more. So now I'm darkening the entire sphere a little bit around it. I just wanted to pop a little bit more. If I kept it this kind of dull, you wouldn't really, I mean, you still get the effect, but it's just really cool when you've got this really dark, really light together. It has this contrast. It really kind of lends to the shape. So as you can see, it's starting to look like a sphere. You're starting to get a little bit of that shape there. I'm putting a little bit of dark on the left and the right side a little bit, and just cleaning up that area. So now this is what I was talking about. I'm just dabbing the paper again to lift up the color on that really, really bottom right side. It's almost parallel to the top left circle inside the highlight part. I really want to just keep this really light angle to the sphere. It just kind of, if you look at any kind of sphere, when there's light shining directly against it, before you hit into the shadow, it does have a little bit, it reflects the light a little bit. If it's opaque, it doesn't, but if it's a little bit more see-through like glass, it will. So that's why I have that light area. Then I'm taking a very dark Payne's gray, so very, very little water in the Payne's gray, so it's a lot darker, a lot more pigmented. Much more value to it. I'm going to do the shadow. So I did a light sketch of the shadow just to give myself an idea of where it's going to be. And I was also kind of showing my students at the same time to do this. You don't have to do that. You can, if you can freehand it, go ahead and do that. But I was just doing that just to show kind of how far out we go in the sphere. So as you go out in the shadow, you lighten it quite a bit and keep the darkness right up bumped against that. It's bleeding a little bit. I'm going to fix that in a second, but that's what happens when you don't wait for things to dry, which is what I always tell people to do. When you're painting at home, wait for things to dry. It's kind of hard to do when you're teaching a class because you don't want to lose valuable time. But as you can see, that dark, you have that little bit of shadow now. You can even take some paint and lift it around the edge of the shadow just to give it more of a shadowy look. So this is a really, really rough sphere. I didn't spend too much time on it. It was just more to show lights, shadows, and values. It's part of this little understanding of the colors and values. Hopefully this made sense. If you're absolutely brand new and you're like, I don't even know what values is, I apologize. You know, that's something that probably should have talked about in the beginning, but it's just basically light to dark is the values, and we do values with color. So let me know what you think. See you at the next video.